All right, let's talk some real politics now. And with obviously the overwhelming attention here going to the presidential race, you'd think that was the only election come November. Not so fast, my friends. Well, we've got races, obviously coast to coast here in the House and the Senate, that could literally twist both branches, both chambers, I should say, one way or the other. Obviously, Democrats with a small majority there in the U.S. Senate, and obviously in the House, the Republicans have a majority and a bigger one. But still, depending on how things go, if it's a top-heavy and a pretty decent margin one way or the other, you could literally see things flip right before our eyes. Okay, so what we decided to do tonight was let's pick some of the races in our region that literally are going to be some of the most contentious that you're going to see, both around our neck of the woods, but even nationally as well. Okay, and there are also races that have primaries coming up in the next few weeks, and you know how critical some of these results are come the general. First up, let's start with the Democratic primary in New York's 13th district. The heavyweight in this fight, incumbent Congressman Charlie Rangel. Rangel, as you all know, censured for his ethics violations back in December of 2010, just weeks after he was reelected. This is going to be the first time that he's going to be facing voters since that happened. His opponent this time, State Senator Adriano Espaillat, and he's a very Democratic district where he's running in, so the winner of the primary, almost for sure, going to be the winner in November. And Dominic, it was always just a rubber stamp for Charlie Rangel, but people making noise for a while that he's vulnerable. Are they right?
This race, Richard, really is like a human soap opera. What is it on ABC? The one as the days turn or something? Days of Our Lives. That's what's going on right now.
Exactly what it was, but keep going, yeah.
That's what's going on with Rangel right now. Censured in Washington, as you mentioned, longtime Democrat, chair of the cities of the state's congressional delegation.
Vote for somebody other than Rangel?
Well, remember, it's no longer an all-black district or a mostly African-American district. The district is now a majority Latino. And so that means that Democrats smell blood in the water. Rangel is at the end of his career. This thing is so much a soap opera. The guy that hates Rangel, Adam Clayton Powell, the assemblyman who's the son of the legendary congressman who Rangel
beat in 1970.
That's right, who beat. He who has hated Rangel's guts for about 20 years, guess who he endorsed? Right. Rangel, because he wants to be the one to replace Rangel, and he doesn't want another Latino to take the seat. The politics and the soap opera as the days turn.
Very nice. Or Days of Our Lives.
Days of Our Lives. Okay.
All right, next up, let's get to the Democratic primary in New York's 18th district in the Lower Hudson Valley. You got 5 Democrats looking to challenge the incumbent Republican Congresswoman Nan Hayworth, a guest in this program recently, including Wappinger Falls Mayor Matt Alexander, Cortland Councilman Rich Becker, former Clinton advisor Sean Patrick Maloney, also ran for AG, Tuxedo Park Mayor Tom Wilson, and Dwayne Jackson, who we've also had in the show. You remember Dwayne? He was the vendor who alerted the cops to that car planted by the would-be Times Square bomber. District is thought to lean slightly Republican, but it could be a close race come November, depending on who wins the primary here. And Jessica, a lot of people find this race really interesting. Nan Hayworth, she was part of the Tea Party wave. She got out John Hall. Recently, she's been moving a little bit more in the middle, saying that, you know, it's hard to, you know, win in Washington or get stuff done in Washington. There's not enough compromise. How do you see this playing out?
Well, you have 5 Democrats running in a primary, all of whom are pretty largely unknown. So, and for the first time, the primary is going to be June 26th, which voters are not used to. So I think you're going to see really low turnout. It's going to be a game of whoever can get their voters out. But I think at the end of the day, Nan Hayworth is popular. She's well liked. She is a moderate. She came in on sort of that wave of anti-Obama Republican year, but she's always been moderate on social issues. She's well funded, and I think whoever takes her on is going to have a tough time in November.
Becker is the one who has the biggest fundraising advantage among the 5 Democrats. He's probably the best positioned to take on Hayworth, so if it's somebody other than Becker coming out, it's probably more of an advantage to Hayworth come the general election.
Yeah. I think Sean Patrick Maloney, if he can actually get through this thing.
He's probably got the most name recognition out of anybody.
He's also got a lot of friends with some money.
Yeah.
All right, next up, New York's 6th district, that's in Queens. Now, even after redistricting, this would have been the district where longtime Democratic Congressman Gary Ackerman would have run. But, as you may have learned, he is calling it quits after this year, and he's leaving a primary fight in his wake. 3 Democrats, they're running in the June 16th primary. You got City Councilwoman Liz Crowley, yes, related to that congressman, Assemblyman Rory Lanceman, and Assemblywoman Grace Meng. The winner gets City Councilman Dan Halloran in what ought to be, many people think, probably a Democratic win, but it's interesting family dynamics in this one too.
And trying to pick a winner out of the 3 of this is particularly difficult. Crowley's cousin is Joe Crowley, who's the congressman and also the chairman of the Queens Democratic Party.
He's the kingmaker in Queens.
He is,
yeah.
But she entered the race a little bit late, and she may not have the full-throated support of the Queens Democratic machine.
And also, as we remember, the last time Crowley picked somebody, it was a hot mess. As
That's the guy who lost to Bob Turner.
As our guest has a big smile on, you saw Mr. Weprin, who, nice man, but has the personality of wet toast. He got beat by Mr. Turner, and now some people are pointing to Joe Crowley saying you had to do better than this.
Which may hurt Liz Crowley. You got Rory Lanceman, who has been in the race longer, may have more union support, and may have eroded some of that institutional support. And Grace Meng's been endorsed by Ackerman, and the district is now.
A lot of people like her as a rising star, right?
The district is now a majority Asian American district, so that should be to her advantage. The question is, will they all turn out? What percentages will turn out? I'm officially making this primary too close to call.
Well, thank you, Andrew. I'm going to make a note of that.
Yeah.
All right, finally, you got incumbent versus incumbent, and I did this debate in northern Jersey, and it is a hot mess. You're talking about the state's 9th district, where redistricting has forced 2 guys who claimed at least to be friends. When you see them together, I wonder if that ever was the case. Steve Rothman and Bill Pascrell going after each other's necks. You got internal polling saying that they're less than a point apart. The winner expected to win in November against one of 3 Republican candidates. And this thing's fascinating. We see similarities to this. You saw a race like this in L.A., where you got 2 sitting Democrats. In some ways, it's more bitter than any general election, because they say, you fill in the blank, you moved into my district. The guys, it wasn't your district.
Fights in your family are always worse than fights with people you don't know that well.
I guess so, but literally at this debate beforehand, one of the campaigns said, you have to tell the other one, stop touching our candidate. He's got to stop touching. So I'm like, what do you want me to do? They're like, you have to make an announcement. That's to be. I'm like, so I'm supposed to say no touching? They're like, exactly. I'm like, I'm not doing that. So, but then it was touching.